Today I have some knives sent to me from a subscriber. He wants me to sharpen them and send them back, so let's have a look. Okay, so what have we got here? Henckels. Beautiful. Doesn't look like there's much damage on the edges, so that shouldn't be a drama. And a smaller one. Might give them a bit of a buff. Serrated. Like a large utility. And a boning knife. It's like the full set. A little paring knife. And another little paring knife too. The same. And a pizza cutter. Oh yes, we can see that that's not really got much of an edge on it. I know how to do that. And scissors. Okay, well, we've got a fair variety today, so let's get cracking. Right, so we'll start off with the chef knife. Now with the chef knife I can see there's a bit of a bump here. I'll show you up on the cutting board that I check against the light. You can see that there's a little bit of light through here. So I'm just going to take off that little crown and see if I can get that flatter. And I'll do that over on the sanding machine. That's much better. First I might give it a bit of a buff. See if I can get some of that looking a little bit cleaner. I go very lightly over the brand so I don't remove it. That looks much better. Pop it in the clamp. Make sure that it's straight across here, so I have to lift it up a little bit. Loosen the nuts, lift the rest. And my new favourite angle for kitchen knives is 32 degrees. So I'm going to set it to 16. My wheel is down to 214. A little bit high. Perfect. Now I'm going to do this on the fine setting, but I'm going to reset it with a 320 diamond plate. Pressing quite hard. Lifting as I go to there, so I don't want to dig the blade in. I want to gently bring it up so that this heel remains exactly as it is. Yeah, the wheel does have a bit of a wobble, but it makes no difference. And here you can see the difference. This is the as presented, and this is the as ground. Beautiful tips using my tip first method. And that was just 3 passes. I try and grind knives as little as I can to preserve as much metal as possible. Now, because I've got it set to the fine setting, sometimes it takes a few extra passes. If this was on the coarse setting, these would probably be done by now, or this would be done by now. However, every time I change the grit on the wheel, it wears the wheel down and really has an effect on longevity. So I'd rather keep it on the fine setting. And this wheel is the SB 250, the Blackstone. And the Blackstone is quite sharp, like I'm getting a burn now. So even on the fine setting being so sharp, it will cut a knife no problem. That's got a good burr, so we're finished there. Over onto the honing wheel to remove that burr. Now lately, because I've nearly run out of my compound, and because I get asked all the time, I'm going to tell you all again, I use Veritas honing compound. It comes in a 170 gram bar, and if you go to their website at veritastools.com and look up for the compound, you'll see a little drop down box that will tell you, get you to choose your country, and they will tell you where you can buy it. You can buy it online as well. But this is the good gear, Veritas honing compound. Now, but I just wanted to show you that this is pretty smooth leather. You can see there's hardly any compound on there. And lately I've been testing to see how much compound I actually need. So the burr is on the top. One pass. Two pass and test. Because the less we touch the blade, the better. So I can still feel some grit, so I'll do one more pass. And test. Oops, It's nearly gone. One more pass, I think. And the better quality the knife, the less passes you need, because the burr will break off because the metal's so hard. The burr just breaks off. So let's test. That is clear. And I use a microfiber cloth to remove any compound that's appeared on the blade. And I think that part of this, as I'm doing this procedure here, it might actually be removing some of the micro burr that I'm going to be taking off on the kangaroo tail strop. So I don't know if this helps, but I think it does. So onto the kangaroo tail, and I'll use the fine side using minimum interruption. And by that I mean I could go on the coarse side, but if it's not necessary, I'm going to try this side first. And again, minimum contact. So one, I'm pressing quite light to medium. And stop there. Let's try. A little bit catchy, so maybe one more pass. And the less you play with the blade, the better off you are. Let's just try that again. See, that's not really cutting through there very well. The rest of it is good. I'm going to just give it a bit more, because it should enter that paper very well. See, that entry was much better, and it glides through no problem. So that's what we want. So that's done. Beautiful bevels, beautiful tip, and the heel finished nicely without a bump. Nice. Now finish off with some alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, 90-10, 10% water, just because 100% alcohol is quite harsh. Cleans it and gives it a nice shine as well. Beautiful. And I'll finish off by cutting a little sliver of yellow masking tape and popping it on there so that I know that the knife's been finished, and as a warning to the owner that this is very sharp. So yeah, that looks beautiful. That's ready, done. So now I'm going to do the others. This is a nearly worn out soft mop. It's a mop. See how it comes apart? So this is not a wheel. This is a Curry Custom Cutlery Scotch-Brite wheel, you can see that it's got, see the Scotch-Brite in there. And this is a much harder, less forgiving wheel. I bought this and I don't know what to use it for, so I'm going to have to ask Cliff. Cliff, if you're watching, what do I use that for? I feel that it's a bit too harsh. Oh, let me just do the back of this one again because it didn't quite come out nicely. Oh, I may not have, oh no, there's some stains on there. And it mimics the brush finish of a new knife. You can see there's some stains there. I'm not going to dig in because they're on the label and I don't want to remove that label. But it finishes the bolsters beautifully. You can tell these haven't been sharpened before by anyone because see how sharp that heel is? That tells me they've never been touched. So now, being a shorter knife, it's pulled it up the wheel, which means that the angle has increased in here. You want to decrease it back down to 16 degrees per side. So it matches the other one. 16 per side is 32 total, and 32 is a very good general purpose angle. Now when I'm sharpening a new knife that obviously has no bevels left, I don't mind giving it 3 passes per side because both sides are going to need 3 passes anyway, from my experience. And after I've done 3, I'll check for a burr, nothing there. So I might give it a couple of passes this time. Now I travel pretty slow and I seem to have the knack because I used to be a welder and I have got the movement down pat. Welding and knife sharpening on a Tormek T8 seem to have a lot of things in common. And what I do is I focus on the knife area there that's being cut right there. I focus there and my body just does the move by itself. It's very strange. And again, I'm lifting carefully towards the end, taking the pressure off, so that as I get towards the end, I don't have a big dugout area there that that puts a big lump. Although with these, as you're chopping herbs, you wouldn't be chopping herbs with these because your knuckles get in the way before this contacts the board. But still, it's nice to have it not. So that's got a couple of pieces of burr there, so I'm going to just give it one more pass So the first was 3, then 2, now 1. And I'll go 1 pass per side from now on because I know I'm getting very close to that bevel, to that apex on the bevel. Okay, I've got a fairly good burr, but I just want to give it one more pass, just to give it the Irish. You know, the Irish, to be sure, to be sure, to be sure. Now I have a very good burr, although because I'm on the fine setting, the burr is less pronounced, so it may not be as easy to feel, but I can feel it. Definitely on the burr. So over onto the honing wheel. And again, I'm going to leave the compound off and just try and use the leather to see what happens, because you may not have that Veritas compound, and I'm not sure that it's entirely necessary. So isn't that interesting? So again, I'm just going to do 1 pass per side and check for burr on my fingernail, because the less I touch it, the sharper it is. Check. I can feel a couple of little pieces on there still. So again, what angle am I using on here? Well, I'm trying to get as close to the bevel as possible, but I'm not on the bevel. I'm up a little bit onto the apex, just close to the bevel, but a little bit higher. Because the apex is really the only thing I'm concerned about. The bevel is there after the cut to push the food away. And you can see by my results on the cigarette paper that this technique works very well. So again, I'm wiping with the microfiber, and that may even be dislodging a couple of small pieces of leftover micro burr. I'm not sure, but I thought about it the other day. I thought, I wonder if this is acting like a bit of a strop, because it kind of would be, wouldn't it, if you think about it. Kangaroo tail. Again, just light passes. The minimum touch. And then I test. If I need more, I can always give more. But the less that I touch it, the better off we are. Let's have a look. Oh, great entry. And look at that, pushing all the way through. See? Less touching, the better. Nice. Okay, so a bit of a squirt. And a sticker. And that one's done. So now moving over to the large utility. Is it flexible? A little bit, but should be okay. Now this is about as high as the carving knife, so I'm guessing that it won't need an angle adjustment, and I'm right. So straight into it. 3 per side to start off with. And once again, that oblong wheel doesn't matter at all. Makes no difference. And obviously truing a wheel removes millimeters, so we really don't want to do that if we can avoid it. A little bit of burr showing up now. So we'll use the 3-2-1 method again. So 2 passes on this side. How hard am I pressing? Medium. I'm pressing here and here. So I'm pressing less here when I'm on the tip. As I'm coming past, I'm pressing more here. And then as I'm getting towards the end, I'm raising the pressure here and pushing down here on my finger in order to keep the pressure the same all the way through. See, so now I'm pressing here. Now I'm pressing here. And now I'm pressing here. And lifting the pressure there. Now I can feel a burr, so 1 per side I think on the other, 3-2-1, and we should be done. Yes, good strong burr. Quick wipe. Now this one I didn't give it a buff because the blade looks pretty good. So look, feel for the burr. Burr is always up when you start off. And the reason is, if the burr is up, then what I'm doing by buffing the back of it is I'm buffing the back of the burr and weakening its grip on the knife. So if that makes sense, I'm polishing the back of the burr so that when I turn it over, the burr has less of a grip on the knife and should come off much easier. And I don't have much compound. There's probably a little bit left over, but not much. This is mostly from the leather friction. So let me test. Oh yeah, I can still feel some. And when this stops working with just a few passes, I might throw a little bit of compound on there, just to add a bit of grit. So that's 2 passes per side. And that's done. See, much quicker. I think when I first started, I was over honing, definitely. I was giving it 5-10 passes per side, thinking that that's where the sharp was coming from, but in fact, it's not. So, over to the kangaroo strop. Just a couple of passes, using light pressure, because we want to disturb that edge as little as possible. And I'm using the suede side of the kangaroo tail. And let's have a look if that's all that's needed. Oh, great entry. And look at that, just gliding through. See, and that's how you get them super sharp. The less you play with that edge, the better. That's what I'm discovering lately. A little yellow sticker. Using these old scissors that I sharpened on the Tormek. Still going strong after many, many months. Not that I put them through too much work, but still. Now, we've got the boning knife. Now with the boning knife, I like to get up in here in the curve, in the reverse curve. In order to do that, I need to pass it over this corner here. But as you can see, this is quite sharp. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get an old stone, an old truing stone, an old Tormek one. I'm just going to hit right on that corner there, pressing really hard to try and give that corner a bit of a radius. You can see that I've given that a bit of a radius. So see, this one's very sharp. And then I'm going to use the old 80 grit diamond plate. Then the 320 grit diamond plate. Pressing not so hard on this, because when you're using when you're rubbing on the corners, it really digs in. So just a light touch with that. And then I'm going to come back with the stone on the smooth side. And even though Dr. Vadim told us that you cannot use these stones on the black stone, you kind of can. This is made of silicon carbide, the same material as the wheel, on the Blackstone wheel. So this silicon carbide is very sharp, so it will sharpen and dress a normal SG wheel, super grind wheel, but it won't do anything to this, or will it? I mean, look at that, that's radius, that's beautiful, that's smooth. So, I don't know. Busting myths all over the place, aren't I? That's enough. Now, being a boning knife, we're expecting it to hit bones. And we don't want a super fine, super sharp chef knife angle on these. What I'm looking for on this is probably more like a 40 degree, so 20 per side. Increase this to 20. And what you're looking for is this flat bit here should sit right up against on the blade without any air gaps or light gaps. And that's it. So now grind away as normal. And then when we get to that reverse curve, I'm going to ride the radius. See that? And I can bring it back as well. And that does a fantastic job. I'll give it one more pass and then I'll come and show you what that looks like. So now push down on the handle. And you'll see Oops, I just moved it on there a little bit. So it moved and slipped off because I was very close to the spine. What you want is, you don't want that right up in there, obviously, like close like that. What you want is to be near the spine, but I was a little bit too far off the spine, a bit too close to the spine, so my grip wasn't fantastic. So I'm taking a re-grip, making sure that I get a squeaking sound out of this to know that I'm tight. Not sure if you could hear that, probably not. I'm going to have to redo the angle as well, obviously, because this may have turned and moved. So I actually got it back in the correct spot. So this is the as presented, and this is the Tormek. See, beautiful bevel. And see how it's climbed up there? Right, beautifully. Still a little bit of silvering on there, so we know we're not apex. We've got some silvering here, but then again, I haven't done this side yet, so let's do this side. And drop the handle and ride that radius. Backwards and forwards. And the third. So now I can feel a burr, but not everywhere. So I'll do 2 passes on each side now. Going slow around this first corner to make sure that you give each section of the blade equal time on the wheel. And what I mean by that, I'll show you in a minute. Now, I've gone over this before, but for those of you who are new, welcome. Thanks for watching. So let's pick a spot, let's say right there, and you watch. I'm on the wheel here, and then as I'm moving along, it's still on the wheel, 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 still on the wheel. Now it's off the wheel, right? So that's a fair bit of time on the wheel. So as you're coming around the corner, you want to give each, so as I'm pushing down along there, then obviously that tip is not on the wheel anymore, and I'm now contacting further and further along there. So I want to give each section enough time on the wheel. See, still on the wheel, still on the wheel. Now I'm moving on to the other section. Still on the wheel, still on the wheel. Right, and then as I'm on the blade, I can now move a little bit faster. And the idea is to give every section its own time on the wheel. You're still on the wheel, still on the wheel. Bit of frequency there. Now that I'm on the blade, I can move along knowing that each section is getting a much longer period on the wheel. And then drop the handle. Sometimes the water prevents from getting a good feel of the burr. Alright, I've got a good burr now. Might just give it one more pass per side. Okay, that's done. I'll bring it over for a look so you can see how small the bevel is on a boning knife. See, that's a smaller bevel. I mean, it looks pronounced up close, obviously, on the zoom, but see how beautiful it is all the way around? Nice. But that's a much smaller bevel because we want a smaller bevel because it's going to be hitting bones and things. See? It comes all the way up there in case you want to use it for, you know, cutting in here. So feel for the burr. The burr's on the underside, so that will be at the top now. And again, I use the corner of the wheel, of the leather wheel, to get in there and remove the burr off the inside of that reverse curve. One pass, using the corner of the wheel here. Now measure. I can still feel some rough bits. That's beautiful now. That's all it needed. And again, I still haven't used any compound on that wheel. And I haven't put any compound on in the last probably dozen or 2 dozen knives. So that's still pretty much running on raw leather with just a little bit of compound right on the top. So I think that's interesting. Okay. Now onto the kangaroo tail. And if you don't have kangaroo tail, don't worry. You can use any leather you've got. The harder the leather, the better. So if you can get some buffalo or some horse hide or something, that's what they used to use in the old days. Just a couple of passes. And this, even though it's a reduced angle, or increased angle rather, smaller bevel, you should still, see, look at that. A little bit catchy on the end there. That entry was great. Light pressure, disrupting that edge as little as possible because it's very thin and fragile, or fragile, as my dear old dead friend used to say. See, great entry. Beautiful. What's Mr. Chili grumbling about? I think it's time he made an appearance. You're lying on the concrete, Mr. Chili. Mr. Chili. Mr. Chili. He's in the sun. That's fine. We'll leave him alone. Let sleeping dogs lie, right? So that's that. What I might do is I might give that bolster a bit of a buff. Just so that it matches the others. We'll leave the blade alone. See that finish? That's beautiful. Really nice. Bit of alcohol. Now a couple of paring knives, and we'll move on to the specials. Now this paring knife, if you have a look, it's got a bit of a reverse curve there, but I'm not going to touch it. It's not important that these are all the way to the end because you can't really use the back of the heel of the knife anyway. These are used mostly for, you know, peeling apples and things like that. So it's the middle of the bevel of the edge that really is the most important bit. But as you can see, this has no bevel at all. Really, there's nothing there. So I'm going to put mine on. Now, we change this angle back to 16 degrees, 32 total. That's good enough. And we give it 3 per side, then 2, then 1. Feel for a burr. Yep, definitely got a burr there. 1 per side and we should be done. And you can see we have a nice bevel now on both sides. Proper. Over onto the honing wheel. Feel the burr side up. Using medium pressure. I'll do 2 passes. That's all we need. Let's see what 2 passes has done. Has that cleared it up? Nice entry, and look at that. Beautiful. I'll do the other one. There's 2 paring knives. Check the angle. Drop it down a little bit. And it adjusts because I might have gripped this one down deeper or something. Forgot to buff. Never mind. Good strong burr. Beautiful. Last paper. Oh, a little bit of gripping there. Just try again. Pretty good. I think we can give it a little bit more. Two more passes. Much better. Look at that, just pushing through. Now, let's do the serrated knife. But first, let's test it. A bit grippy. A bit teary. So we'll run it on the SJ. A bit more water in there. And just rock it a little bit, try and make sure I get that full cove. Now I know a lot of you don't have one of these spare little wheels lying around, but I do. So that's what I'm using. Feel free to wrap a piece of fine paper around a screwdriver and work each individual cove as you see fit. You can use a chopstick. and just work that edge just like a normal knife. Even though it's freehand, it's still doing the job. Nice. You can see now we've got silvery edge all the way across, and also on that edge there. So now we do the back. And the radius here gets bigger and bigger, obviously, as you use knives on here. So it's obviously much better when it's a tighter radius, like on my other wheel there. So a tighter radius is good, but eventually it wears out, so you've got to just do your best. And as long as you can sort of get in there a reasonable amount, then it will improve the knife a lot, as you'll see in a minute. You can see that fine silvery edge all the way across the back. Now that should have improved already, but I'm still going to go through the motions to see if I can take off any burr that might have developed, although these 4000 grit wheels don't really give you much of a burr, but still I have found improvements by just touching this a little bit. Also on the kangaroo tail, I'll show you a special little technique in a minute. Okay. Now over onto the kangaroo tail, let me show you something. So I've built this stropping board purposely with an overlap. See that? And that's for serrated knives and reverse curves. So I bring it over to the edge and I run it down the side like that. See? And that should have helped. Let's just see if it has. It's the same piece of paper. Look at that. Just brilliant. Nice. Lovely. That's all it took. So now let's do the pizza cutter. How am I going to do the pizza cutter? Obviously this is riveted, so it's riveted both sides, and that edge is really nothing there at all. So how am I going to do this? Am I going to try and recreate that bevel there, the entire thing? Should I? I don't think I should. So I'm just going to try and put an edge on there using that wheel. I'm just going to lay it on there and it will spin by itself. Watch this. Now this can't be doing the wheel much good, but I can always smooth it off later. Let's see what it's done. Has it put an edge on there? Yes, it has, just a slight one. You can see right there. So, I'm going to carry on the other side now. The angle is determined by how much I'm pushing it over, so I'm going to give it what feels like a 20. Can't feel a burr yet. For those of you who enjoy the sound of grinding, this is going to be one of those sections. Well, we're getting there. Let me just move this in a little bit so I don't have to lean over so much. You know what I might do? I might make that wheel a bit coarse, just so we can hurry it up. And when I get a burr, I'll fine the wheel up again. getting anything? We are. That secondary bevel, that's me. We can still see some shine. So we've got a way to go yet. You may want to speed the video up. Oh, it feels sharp. But I still can't feel a burr. Definitely getting there though. A little bit more. It feels like pizza. You know what I might do? I might put a line on here so you can see how fast it's spinning. Now, how hard am I pressing? I would say quite hard. Oh, now I can feel a burr. And that feels sharp as I go across there. So I might just give it a few more moments. You can see my bevel on there. Looks pretty even. Could definitely feel a burr. I reckon it's going to smooth it off a bit. I can see that I've gouged my wheel a fair bit, so I'm going to have to true it up after this, but it's worth it. So the more I dig it into the wheel, the slower it rotates. See? Come on. Oh, that's interesting. Don't know what's happening there. So obviously I want an even rotation. So I'm adjusting the tilt to get an even rotation. But I like that it's rotating slowly. That gives it time to grind. That feels good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move over to the leather wheel. See if I can wipe off some of that burr. Might have to do it manually. We'll start off on the line. It feels sharp. So let's give it a test. See how sharp it is. Well, that works. Good enough, I reckon. So that's interesting. Beautiful. Take those black marks off. And that is sharp. Fantastic. Now the last thing we're going to do is these scissors. And in order to do these, I'm going to take this off here so I don't lose it. And I think I'm going to go over to the 1x30 and just give that edge a bit of a run. See if I can get a burr on the back. That's all I need. So what I'm going to do is, I wonder if I can take these apart. Yes. I might pull this off here. Pull this out. And then that slips apart. Good. So first thing, I might give them a bit of a buff clean. Beautiful. This machine, by the way, is a slow speed buffer. It runs at 1450 RPM, in case you want to get one. These are obviously Chinese machines, but they're sold to me from Carbotech in Australia, which just closed its Adelaide store. Not real happy about that, but whatever. Okay, so let's go to the 1x30. Now, what grit have I got on here? I've got on here a Cubitron 120, which is quite coarse, and I think that's what we need for these scissors. They don't have to be super fine like a knife. I'm going to run this at 2000 RPM. Before I do that, I'm going to mark the bevel so that I can follow it. And this, even though it's serrated, it does have an internal landing, so I'm going to grind this as well until I get a burr on the back, and then that's good enough. Like that. Right, let's do this inside one first. You can see that I got that pretty much nailed. And I've got a beautiful burr as well. I'll give it one more pass. So I'm not straight in at 90 degrees, I'm bringing it over just a little bit. I'm going slow. I'm not scared of it. And I've got a very good burr. I don't think you'll be able to see it. Let's just see if we can see it. There you go. See that burr? That's all we need. Now this one, same. So I'll make a note of where the bevel starts, which is about there. I should make a mark there so that I can see. And not straight in at 90 degrees, but leaned over a little bit. And I nailed it. Look at that, all that black came off beautifully. And can we see the burr? Yeah, you can sort of see it a little bit, but it's there, trust me, I can feel it. I'll give it one more pass. Beautiful burr. Right, so that's it. They're done. Love my 1x30. I love it. Now, I'm not going to hone that burr off or anything, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take my diamond, my fine setting, diamond like file, and just run it once, maybe twice, until I can feel smoothness back on the back there. And that is as sharp as a sharp thing. Lightly once, I can still, oh no, that got rid of the whole thing, so that's all I need. Let's put it back together and test it. A little bit of play there, don't want too much. That's good. And this spring's a bit dirty. Let's see if we can clean that up a little bit. Yeah. Oh, that's good. So it goes from that to that. Nice. That's much better. Not perfect. Still got a bit of rust in there, but I suppose I could always open it up. Let me see if I can do that. Not very dangerous, I can put my finger on it. That's good enough. Yeah, by bending it in and having it flex, I can get in there and clean some of that extra rust out. And that looks much better. Nice. Alright, let's put it back together. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Let's see if it cuts paper. Oh, lovely. That's got to be sharp enough, doesn't it? Beautiful. All right, that's it. I'll just clean that black mark off. Mark. Every crow is called Mark. Did you know that? They're all calling out to each other. We're done. That's it. Oh, this spring comes out a little bit. I don't know what we can do about that, but that will hopefully work beautifully. And the tip crosses over, so there's no extra grinding there that we've got overdone or anything. And that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 knives, straight edge, a reverse curve boning knife at 40. These were all done at 32, 16 per side, and the serrated knife tuned up. The pizza cutter, that was weird, but it came out really nice. And the Victorinox 56 Rockwell scissors. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to pop those back in the box and get them back in the mail, back to my subscriber. So thank you all for watching. Thanks to the subscriber who sent me those knives, a bit of work for me. And thank you all for watching. If you haven't subscribed and you've watched this far, obviously you enjoyed the movie, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the like on your way out. And I'll see you in the next movie.